Hello and welcome to Mana Biscuit. I am RJ Velasquez. With me again this week are my Mana Biscuit co-hosts, Team Mana Biscuit, if you will. We have Jacob Gamble and TJ Rathburn. How you doing, guys?
Well.
Excellent. So we're going to get right into it here. Jacob, you were pretty excited about this week.
Overwatch.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, take it away, my friend.
This is beautiful. Blizzard released two about 50-minute clips. They designating the healer class and just a Zenyatta, the Omnic Monk, which I have no idea what that means just yet. But
it means he goes like this and shoots things.
Yes,
and like makes bubbles.
It was cool, whatever it was, and yeah, Zenyatta was one of the characters that actually kind of piqued my interest with the trailer. So I got to see that in action, and of course, being a healer in WoW, the healer class itself was exciting for me. Some of this just looks amazing. Other parts of it were just kind of, I'm not sure how I feel about just following one individual around like what they were doing there. But,
yeah, I mean, it's new. That maybe they'll work some more abilities in. It is Blizzard. Some people on Blizzard game forums may not necessarily agree with the sentiment, but I am of the opinion that Blizzard is usually pretty in touch with their community and willing to adapt games as needed. So hopefully we'll see something a little bit more engaging out of the healer than we saw in the gameplay. The thing that stood out to me, and the thing I think would drive me nuts playing this game as is, and it was on both videos, and that's every time you clicked a button, they were saying something. It was just like constant little like one lines from your characters, and the monk would be saying like, "Oh, learn to balance and blah blah." I'm like, dude, you're shooting a lot. That is going to get old in a hurry. I mean, I'm watching one match.
To be fair, I mean, there's a lot of raw and grunt within the game sound for WoW. When we go to stab things with the rogue,
half the time I turn the sound off.
I turn the sound up as well, and I can't imagine that not being an option as far as Overwatch goes.
There's a big difference between grunts and even like I guess like karate type hayas or whatever, and like doing the preamble to the Constitution every time you shoot a guy.
We the people. Yeah. Right. So I mean, other than that, visually it was really impressive. I mean, Blizzard has always had great art style for their games. Again, another thing hotly debated by some people, I suppose, but I've never met a Blizzard art style that I didn't like. So this definitely falls into that category as well. One of the other interesting things, not necessarily highlighted so much in these gameplay trailers, but some of the characters, there's that, and I can't remember her name right now, but there's that female like Russian-inspired tank. And it's like you see the females in this game and in these types of games, and they're typically like the Black Widow, ScarJo, super sexy but kicking ass. And no, she looks like a tank. I mean, she looks like Brienne of Tarth, and it's awesome. So, yeah.
We know how you feel about Brienne of Tarth.
She's hands down my favorite character in the entire series, books or otherwise. Yeah. I love Brienne of Tarth. She's great. Go ahead.
I'm a fan, but I wouldn't have made her my favorite.
Well, I mean, there are some close contenders, obviously. Yeah, tangent, but obviously Tyrion. Arya would be up there, but yeah, it's just every time Brienne of Tarth is on screen, or you get to a chapter with her, I'm like, yeah, Brienne. But so. But that has nothing to do with Overwatch. So
no, not at all.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we got some gameplay impressions. I believe the technical alpha will be coming this fall. So yeah, I guess as a comparison, we have had an alpha moved into beta for Heroes of the Storm for almost 2 years. So final release on this game should probably be within the next 5 to 6 years. So we'll see how that goes.
Man, I honestly, I see them probably
Yeah.
doing a release date. I see them probably doing a release date for BlizzCon this year. I mean, they have nothing else to. They have nothing else to announce
know.
right now.
I wouldn't be surprised. There's been a lot of talk about how they're shortening up expansions, and that does happen in the later stages of MMOs. You look at, well, EverQuest I think has finally stopped releasing expansions, but up until the end it was like 8 months between expansions for EverQuest. They were up to like 24 expansions or something, some ridiculous number. I think we're starting to move 10 years later. We're starting to move into that phase with WoW, so we might get another expansion announcement at BlizzCon. Who knows? So.
We don't have we don't have the end of the story for this one yet. I mean, we haven't.
They've been saying for years that they wanted, their goal was to hit an expansion a year, and they have thus far very much failed to do that. But at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if they started to do that. Once they've really got the data now that says every time they get an expansion, they have 6 months with 3 million more people, and then it's done. Yeah. So they've got to start hitting while the iron is hot every time and keep those numbers up.
Yep. Yeah, just like we were talking about last week. Absolutely. Good point. So, yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised to see another expansion. But, you know, frankly, I think it's more likely that... Does Heroes even have a release date yet?
Heroes has a June 3rd release date.
Okay, so Heroes does have a release date. I must have missed that. But so, yeah. So then, yeah, maybe... I don't know. They might do both. Who knows? It's Blizzard. They're really branching out. I mean, for like the better part of those 10 years, they were just the World of Warcraft company because, you know... well, if you watch the...
June 2nd, pardon me.
Okay, June 2nd for Heroes. But if you watch the documentary, little like 20-minute documentary they did for the 10th anniversary of World of Warcraft, it was really interesting to see that was what made Blizzard what they are now. And I think there was a long time where they were just World of Warcraft. Now you have Hearthstone, which was their first little foray. Of course, you still have Diablo and StarCraft, which you know, are playing second fiddle to Warcraft at this point, but they're starting to branch out into new games and not new genres, you know, the MOBA genre, the team-based shooter genre, but they're starting to branch out into new games and new IPs, and I think that's exciting. So, yeah. All right.
Did either of you guys see the released picture today of Orgrim Doomhammer in the Warcraft movie?
No.
Yeah, they put out the first promotional shots of Orgrim Doomhammer today.
Oh wow!
And he looks great. It looks awesome.
Wow. Well,
I totally forgot about that until just now. I didn't cover it in the pre-show.
Yeah, that's all right.
But it was.
Stuff happens.
I don't know if Jay will remember this. I think he covered that in the Lost Pilot.
Yes.
Somewhere. Yeah, the Lost Pilot somewhere.
Someday. Someday.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Someday it'll be found.
We'll have to find that one and get a link to it in the show notes then for sure. All right. So enough about Blizzard and BlizzCon. There is another gaming convention coming up much sooner. Just under a month from now, E3 is coming up. I remember I always think of E3 the same way I did it as a kid when I was just like so excited to read about, you know, the battle between Sega and Nintendo and I remember the Saturn flop and everything stemming from E3, but it's kind of lost its luster a little bit for me in modern years. There's a lot of other gaming conventions and things that kind of, you know, the news just, it's not all condensed like it used to be. There's not just one big hype month. There's hype throughout the year. But that being said, Fallout numero 4. It's so Quattro. No, I can, yeah, numero quattro. Numero 4, number quattro. There you go. Anyway, the fourth Fallout game, the fourth numbered entry in the series, the second since the reboot in 2008 by Bethesda. there's been a lot about this over the years, right? I mean,
oh yeah,
yeah. So, Jacob, you were saying there was like something going on with what about people with scheduling or something?
There was a interesting little lady, and this came well before this announcement.
Right. Yeah, we're talking about the history of it now. So
yeah, we were talking about the history of it. Back when E3 was when E3 was being announced and pages and things were going up, there was a cartoon of a theater auditorium with filled seating of various gaming characters, and there at the front row was, I believe it was like 4 or 5 seats that just simply read reserved. And so it caused a whole bunch of speculation as far as what characters were missing, why they were missing, and what 4 or 5 spots these seats were saved for.
Right.
And one of the speculations was for Fallout 4 because there were characters missing that should have been there.
Right.
Well, I don't remember what the other speculation was off the top of my head. This
probably
was some time ago.
Half-Life 3.
Yeah, it's probably Half-Life 3. Yeah. I mean, you know, but yeah, so
there 3 seats. Yeah, that was Half-Life 3.
Right. Dang it, Valve, get on that. So
along
right.
with
and Portal 3, you know,
not? Portal,
yeah,
and Left 4 Dead, and
so it's just gonna be another. It's going to be another color box. It's going to be the lavender box, and it's going to have Portal 3, and it's going to have Team Fortress 3.
The Chartreuse box.
The Chartreuse box.
Yeah. No, but I mean, the reason Fallout 4, okay, I mean, we're talking about it, but it hasn't been officially announced, but we think that this is probably not a hoax at this point, this rumor, unlike other things in the past that have been obviously hoaxes, because yeah, they were never confirmed. But so there was a video animator who posted an application, and in his CV he mentioned specifically working on a cinematic trailer for Fallout 4, and that corresponding with the upcoming Destructoid is the article. It'll be in the show notes in the YouTube description, but they have the breakdown. But yeah, it's basically this guy worked for, according to his CV, he worked for Guillermo del Toro's production company on a trailer for Fallout 4. So we will probably be seeing a trailer for Fallout 4 at E3. So for the first time in a long time, I have something to look forward to out of E3.
Oh yeah,
which bodes the question. I mean, is this still as big of a deal as it used to be? And I mean, we talked about things being spread out through the course of a year.
Right.
And ultimately, I have to agree that there is no. It's not what it was.
Yeah.
Even 4 or 5 years ago, you know, when friends of mine were going, I'm like, oh, yeah, can't wait. Send me, send me stuff. And,
well, I'd still go. I mean, let's be real. I'd still go, but yeah, I'm not like eagerly awaiting my issue of whatever the heck video game mag. It wasn't Game Pro.
Informer.
No. This was. I'm going back to the '90s. So,
EGM.
Yeah,
EGM, Electronic Gaming Monthly.
I think it was EGM, because I'm like, it's not Game Pro. What was the magazine I got? And yeah, it was EGM. And yeah. Eagerly awaiting that issue with all their E3 coverage, because also dial up and lack of blogs. So yeah. Welcome to the '90s. That's a recurring theme for Mana Biscuit. Yes, we all came up in the '90s. So yeah, I mean, this, I'll probably be tuning into like GameSpot or something for their live coverage, waiting for that trailer. And,
I'll just see.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna wait and see what pops up and hits the front page of Reddit.
Well, there you go. That's another way to do it. Yeah. So yeah, it'll be there. It'll be exciting. Finally, something to look forward to out of E3, I think, for us. And but like, what about Fallout 4 in general? I think we're kind of taking it for granted here that this is something we want to see, but I know for me it is. I've loved the Bethesda the Bethesda Fallout games. I mean, some people call them Skyrim with bats, whatever. That's not a problem for me. But for some people it is, and I take it's not for you guys either. So I guess we don't have to talk about that too much. I know these games are awesome. Yeah. All right. Yeah. And New Vegas. I mean, when you get it, when you go down the rabbit hole of New Vegas and you start getting into like these pacifist runs and seeing what people are doing with that game, it's pretty interesting from a whole like gameplay, game design type standpoint. So yeah, then I guess that's about all we have to say about Fallout. It's awesome. Excited to see a trailer. And let's go ahead.
Especially from Del Toro.
Well,
yeah, that's something that hit me. I'm like, ooh.
Right. I mean, is it from Del Toro? He owns a production company. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's doing the trailer, I think.
Right.
And this guy, obviously, if he's applying for another job, he doesn't still work for that company. So he might have just been a subcontractor brought in to work on this. So yeah, that caught my eye at first too. Absolutely. I had that I'm like, ooh, Del Toro. So, we aren't going to get Silent Hills, but maybe we'll get his influence.
Right. It's nice to. I ranted about this already.
Yeah. I'll let you guys have your fun with that one.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. For me, I can't be too upset about it because I never would have played it. I'm a coward.
Yep.
The very first Silent Hill game that I got it on my my PlayStation. I was playing it, back in like 1999 or whatever it was, and I just remember I'm like, okay, this is kind of creepy going around. I'm like, oh, I'm in a school now, and then these little demon children run out and grab my head and threw the controller up in the air. I'm like, nope. And that is the last interaction I've had with the Silent Hill series. These 16 years later. So,
just as a quick aside. Is that the scariest game you ever played? What's the scariest game that you guys have ever played?
Fatal Frame.
Yes. Yes.
I knew that's where you were going with that one. Because we used to sit there and play that game in the middle of the night, man, and just straight up like, no. And ran away. Yep, I gotta go to bed now. Nobody's playing this game anymore.
Yeah. I don't. You asked me the scariest game I ever played. I have to really think about it because I just avoid scary games. I can't take it. I can't take it. I slept with the light on for like a week, just playing that little bit of Silent Hills. And yeah, I don't know. My entire family's into horror movies and those types of games, and obviously you guys are. I don't get it. I do not enjoy that sensation. I don't know why I would actively seek it out. So,
I enjoy that sensation. I do actively seek that out. I mean, I was running through trailers with a friend of mine for the upcoming Sinister 2 and The Gallows and a couple of other things last night, and just as we're sitting there, and she's like, and I'm like, yeah, that I remember that feeling. I love that feeling, and I don't get that feeling from games anymore. And it's really kind of sad to me. It's kind of watered down. I mean, the last thing that made me jump, honestly, was when I was playing The Evil Within, and I don't remember what exactly happened off the top of my head, but that game was a little bit better than most have been.
Well, if you want jump scares, I guess Five Nights at Freddy's is the way to go.
Dude, I hated that game. I did not like that game.
I guess I have an answer to that other question. You asked what's the scariest game I've ever played, and that would be watching Markiplier play Five Nights at Freddy's.
I wanted to address just very quickly the thing that Jay was saying. Like, I don't know if I like the feeling of being scared. I don't know if I like horror movies and games anymore, or if I just still really appreciate the trappings of the genre, like
sure,
the monsters and the gothic atmospheres and that sort of thing. Like, I still really love that stuff, but I could live the rest of my life without another jump scare. That would be cool.
No, that's that. Yeah, and I think I'm on the same page there because I'll read some Lovecraft. I'll play games that have kind of like a Lovecraft feel, but yeah, the whole like the jump scare thing, the little zombie kids just like jumping out and grabbing your legs and yeah, but I haven't played it yet, but like a Bloodborne that has a lot of the sort of gothic horror, I'm all about that. So that in that regard, I can take it. But so I don't know, maybe I watched some gameplay of PT, and I can tell you I was not going to play Silent Hills.
I would have played the heck out of that game and loved every second of it. But it is not to be, and that the whole...
It just seems almost mean, Yeah. They're like, hey guys, new Silent Hill game. Guess what? Norman Reedus and like Guillermo del Toro's involved. Like everything's gonna be awesome. It's the best thing you're ever gonna see, and now you're never gonna see it. Yeah. We did this on purpose. Not only we were never gonna put out that game. We hate you, Konami.
And Konami seems this is gonna go. This is
we're gonna
way ahead. We're gonna talk about this.
But Konami made this announcement that it is it's pretty much done with gaming in general, with the exception of the freemium and paid to play models.
Yeah.
This does not make me happy. How do you do the Konami code on a phone? I mean, that's a dead thing now, and that makes me so sad.
Yeah.
No, it's not the
same. You haven't done a Konami code in any game forever. Let's be honest.
But it's still a special spot in my heart.
And thanks for ruining our joke for later, because now it's just going to be stale, Jacob.
Oh my goodness, I did.
That's all right. At least I think it was your joke. So
yes, it was a joke.
We'll point this out at the end of the show.
Yeah, we're gonna shame me for no longer having fresh material when a little later on.
Okay.
But, I mean, they announced that they're
all right.
Yeah,
we're in for a nickel, in for a dime. Yeah, in for a penny, in for a pound, whatever.
In for a pound.
Look,
however
man,
you want to put it,
Mr. Idioms. I am not so good. All right, so. Yeah, so let's talk about that for a minute then. A lot of companies are going this route. I mean, you could make the argument that Square is largely going this route.
Square had made the announcement that it's going this route.
Well, they're still going to be putting out AAA titles as opposed to the actual Konami statement, which says they're pretty much not going to do any AAA titles anymore. But it's... TJ was talking about it last week in terms of the monetization model for games. It's just too attractive to pass up. I would use SOE as an example, but SOE is no more. But they did, they got to, you could argue that what life they had for the last 5 years is due to the fact that they did a pretty solid implementation of the free-to-play model. I mean, ultimately, they didn't have the games to hold it up in the end. EverQuest has a diehard fan base, but that's about all they have, and that's dwindling. And people who were our age when they started playing EverQuest in 1999 are starting to get to the point where maybe they need to spend a little bit more time on a treadmill. But it's kind of a rude thing to say, but a retirement plan. They're getting up there. If you started in your mid 30s, like I could totally see that from myself now.
And I roll over my gold into a 401k.
Right, and so you get into your 50s, and you're starting to maybe spend a little less time in those games. Anyway, so. The free to play thing, it's too attractive to pass up. And what's the last really big thing that Konami had that would keep them in the AAA market? I mean,
they have a couple of franchises that I'm gonna miss. I'm gonna miss Castlevania.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you won't miss it because it's always in its best implementation been 2D and sprite based, so it'll be on your phone.
Well, and they also, I don't know if you guys saw this, but the creator of Castlevania, it did a Kickstarter. He started it like last week.
And it looks amazing.
Castlevania.
Yeah.
I will put that link up, but yes, this is a game that, just judging by the drawings, now keep in mind there is no gameplay footage of this whatsoever. There is just drawings of the generalized layout, but this looks gorgeous.
Sure.
And I'm absolutely looking forward to that getting met, that amount being met, because it will.
Well, it will. Without a doubt, and not just because of Castlevania, but I think we talked. I don't know. Well, on one of the episodes, we were talking about how it seems like indie game development seems to move in trends, and I think it was like episode 2 or 3 or something, because we were talking about it at that point where there was a definite trend towards these classical turn-based RPGs, or with Pillars of Eternity and so on and so forth. But there's another big trend, and that is the Metroidvania. As genre. And so to get this Konami expatriate with his own Kickstarter, I mean, I can't imagine that that's not going to be anything but immensely successful and probably meet every single stretch goal. So
yes, it did in the first 24 hours.
Oh, did it? I didn't know.
So it's already met all its stretch goals too, or?
I believe so. Like
wow. Yeah. So there you go.
I want to say they had like $1 million or something like that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's.
But I am prone to
it's a no-brainer. So. It's a no-brainer. So if it hasn't yet, no question.
I brought up I brought up the Konami franchises real quick because I wasn't familiar with all. I wasn't familiar with which ones were which. I tend to get them in Capcom.
Yeah, the same. But yeah.
But we're talking Castlevania, like we already said, missed. Contra, they haven't done a game in forever as far as a Contra game goes.
No, and
but
why improve on perfection? Every time they try to update Contra into the modern era, it's just another generic shooter with a Contra slapped over it. I mean, it's Contra's just tight 2D shooting. You die a lot and keep going at it because it's fun, or you enter the code to get 30 guys. But anyway.
Metal Gear.
Yeah, Metal Gear's the other big one, and I mean that's the one I think that was the first victim, right? Because before all of this went down, the first rumblings of Storm on the Horizon was Kojima and Konami parting ways. So obviously Kojima wants to stay in AAA, and I think that's for the best because Kojima's an interesting character, is all I'm going to say, but he's put out some pretty good games over the years. So, hopefully he can continue to work on that with another AAA developer somewhere. I don't know, start his own. Who knows how it'll go, but I'm sure he'll be fine. He'll land on his feet.
And RJ, Konami also had the Dance Dance Revolution, which which I know is a personal favorite of yours.
I mean, yeah, okay. I mean, from a memory standpoint, I used to play Dance Dance Revolution, but I mean, it's all about Dance Central now. I mean, come on. And Dance Central's a fine game that nobody will ever watch me play, but I will still play it. So dance. I mean, that's what I was saying though. They have a lot of historical franchises that were popular, but the old saying in sports, what have you done for me lately? What have you done for me lately? And not a lot. So I think that's.
I don't know. I really enjoyed the most recent Castlevania, Lords of Shadow 2. It was pretty good.
Lords of Shadow 2.
I like the series in general. And honestly speaking, if you had to ask me, like, my favorite game franchise is Castlevania is right up there. And it makes me a little sad to know that there's not going to be another, what I would consider a legitimate entry into that franchise.
Yeah.
Well, at the same time, though, I mean, and this is like pure 110% speculation, but it might be interesting to me to see that where those types of games fail on mobile platforms is when developers just try to put a control pad overlay over top of them. That does not work. Yeah. But there are ways, and there will be ways, because people are creative and they come up with things. That's just how this industry works. There will be a way to come up with a reasonable control scheme for a touch device where you can still have that same sort of platformer exploration gameplay, and I think if they focus on that, like taking the feel and the theme of Castlevania, their IP, and integrating it with a game that's actually well designed for the platform, that could be pretty amazing and a really big step forward in evolution of the mobile gaming game design, the Metroidvania subgenre in general. So but yeah, boy, we ended up having a lot to say about that, so I guess it's a good thing.
Much more than our show notes had to
right. So moving along, we did have another fairly dig into it type topic to talk about, and that was a little bit more on the Secret Wars. We talked about what's going down with it last week. We also had in the latest issue of Thor, spoiler alert, stop the video, I don't care. I mean, if you're reading comics, just read the issues and
let's
catch
just
up.
say that they revealed who female Thor was, and not say who it was.
All right, fine.
But we can't reveal it. We can't not spoiler it without asking, because we can't not spoiler this because we've got some questions on this whole thing.
We do have some questions. So I will give you 5 seconds to stop this video. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, hopefully you've stopped it if you don't want to
totally
be spoiled.
Wrong numbers.
Yeah, like you guys were going the opposite direction.
I was counting down.
I should have been going like 7, 8,
8,
9,
10, 14.
And now you've had probably about 20 seconds.
Yes. So you know what? It's Foster. It's Jane Foster.
Right.
It's Jane Foster.
Take that. I tried to save you.
But okay, so the storyline with Jane Foster is, as it's going on right now, is she has breast cancer, but she is also revealed to be Thor. Not, and this is another thing I just want to say as a side. I'm really impressed by the way this is not she Thor, this is not femme Thor. This is Thor, and so she is Thor, and it's pulling. TJ, you were explaining that it's weakening her in her non-Thor state when she's not wielding Mjolnir.
Yeah, exactly. Every time she transforms into Thor, she's healthy and strong, and she's Thor. She's one of the most powerful beings, essentially, in the Marvel Universe. And she's a little bit closer to death, making it more difficult for her to fight off her, because all of her energy is being devoted to changing back into Thor.
Yeah.
I
think we're starting to lose you a little bit, TJ.
Yep, we are starting to lose him.
Character has been kind of more.
I think he probably. Yeah, I think he'll. Yeah, if the pattern holds, he'll probably be back in a few seconds.
Okay, but couldn't get that. We had basically what's going on is that every time she transforms into Thor, she's fine. Everything is good. She is a healthy Thor. Every time that she transforms back into Ms. Foster, it's a completely different story, and she's a little bit weaker. Ultimately, we're curious as to what's going to happen through the course of the Secret Wars, whether or not she continues to wield the hammer, whether or not the breast cancer is cured. There are lots of unanswered questions, particularly in her area. Now, keep in mind that the Secret Wars is just starting. I mean, we just had the second. Had the second installment, so there are more unanswered questions than just that. However, TJ is our comics expert.
I've been able to hear you guys the entire time. I think
it was probably there was probably a lag in your bandwidth, and Skype just cut back on the video. I would imagine is probably what happened there. And then it chopped up the audio and so on. So anyway, so we covered what was happening. You started before you broke up, and Jacob shorted up there with the transition and what it's costing her. So the question becomes what's going to happen as the Secret Wars wraps up and they move on with the new Marvel Universe, or everything's condensed in the existing Marvel Universe, but they move on with the new characters and plot lines. is this something you think that they will carry forward? Is this something you think that they will use to get rid of her as a character in the end before they wrap everything up, and go back to the traditional Thor? Or I don't know. I think obviously we're still getting into Secret Wars, but it's speculation at this point.
Yeah.
Right. And here's the thing: we've seen some snippets of what's happening during and after Secret Wars already, like even before the series came out.
Okay.
And like today, the second issue of Secret Wars came out, and it revealed what's been going on, kind of, sort of, with Thor in that universe. And it shows no Jane Foster. In fact, it actually shows like there's not just one Thor in Secret Wars.
Okay.
I don't know how spoilery we don't want people. Like, I don't know if we're just continuing on the hey, we're spoiling things front.
That's that's a good. We maybe should have thought of that before we started a little bit, but I guess we might want to just keep it to speculation at this point, based on what we've already spoiled. So
yeah. So from what I've seen, I haven't seen anything, or I haven't noticed anything about Jane Foster. I don't particularly care one way or the other what happens to her. I didn't think she was that strong of a character, either in the comics or in the films. And I mean, this is something that was covered in a What If, in a single issue, like a long time ago. What if Jane Foster found the hammer of Thor?
Oh, really?
And
he's gone again.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on. Let's get past the speculation, and we've got one more that really, really excites me, and I wish that TJ were here for this. However, Jared Leto's leaked footage between him and Margot Robbie as Joker and Harley Quinn.
Right. Well, it was pretty good. I mean, okay. So the only place to see the video right now, we'll have the link as of the recording. You can we tested this. You can still see the video on the Huffington Post article, but everything's been pulled down from YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is leaked footage. So but I'm fine if they don't change anything from what I saw.
Yes.
Because Okay, well, what did you not like?
He still has the tattoos. They actually went through with the tattoos.
Oh, I didn't notice those, but I guess
I didn't notice them either.
I didn't watch them. I only watched them once, so I just
there's some more slightly close-up photographs that show he still has the tattoos, like the damage on his forehead.
Yeah, that's a little too Linkin Park, you know.
He's really
pop
emo.
punk emo. Yeah, that's a bit much, but you guys were talking about the mannerisms, and I definitely agree. And TJ, you said he looks a lot like the Batman animated series Joker, which is pretty cool. Yeah. So, other couple of quick things before we wrap up the show here. If you managed to miss our spoilers and wanted to get into Thor or any other comic out there, the best way to do it for a lot of people who probably, I think there's a big section of the population that really doesn't have a good local comic shop. Like, I know where I am, we have a good local game shop, but the comic shop next door used to be okay, but now the last time I went in there were like almost no comics, and it was just these two like 70-year-old guys sitting around talking about the 1960s, and I'm like, I don't think I really want to spend a lot of time here. You guys smell a little funny, and I'm going to go. Port Huron used to have a really good comic store back in the 90s, but then again, back in the 90s, comics were...
Everything was better.
Yeah.
Everything was better than that.
So TJ and I
they don't know.
TJ and I are blessed here in Battle Creek to actually have not one but three, two of which are fairly hit and miss.
One of which is good.
Yes, one of which is amazingly good for anything that you want to do.
And you guys aren't that far from Kalamazoo, which has fanfare as well, right?
Which is fanfare as well, and that one is far and away better. Ultimately, I think there's 4 or 5 all total.
But enough about our little local corner of the world. Michigan pride, I will say that. But right. For a lot of people who are like me and they don't have a good local comic store, the only real viable option is online. And there's a lot of things out there. There's there's proprietary readers, there's different readers where you can buy the proprietary comics through that reader. So anyway, Polygon posted an article, great public service, link in the stuff underneath the video. It just kind of breaks down how to go about getting into digital comics. So bring up comics readership. I'm already spoiled because I follow comics blogs. That's fine. I'm still reading some digital comics myself. I got a bunch of free digital comics for buying my Avengers tickets on Fandango, so that was awesome. And I've been reading those, and so that was something we wanted to mention in brief, along with the Jared Leto footage and the comics book. But this was ultra interesting. This was, someone did a breakdown. They posted it on Imgur. They did a breakdown of how far Sam and Frodo walked to get to Mordor. And it turns out it was about 1,350 miles. Which,
is that walked, or is that the full travel between the Shire and Mordor?
Yes, they concede that some of it was on a boat or whatever. But, for most part, they were walking. And on the portions where they're like, technically it was on a boat, they still add it to the total. But this is 1,350 miles. I went to Google Earth. The Imgur gave a couple of analogs for the real world. One of them was like walking from London to a city in Serbia. The other one was like from walking from LA to Houston. I'm like, well, I'm from Detroit. What's that? It turns out it's about the distance of walking from Detroit to San Antonio. It's a long ways.
Wow.
Yeah. Why didn't they just take the birds? I'm just saying.
Well, there's actual reasons for that, but I don't think any.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. All right. Well, I think the biggest reason is you wouldn't have had the book. So yeah.
Well, yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I mean, ultimately, Robert Jordan created a 600-page novel off a 20-mile walk. So, I mean,
well, a lot happened, man. A lot happened on that walk.
Yes,
Randall Thor. Oh, I'm sorry. Can we not do spoilers for that either?
Really?
Sorry.
No spoilers for Eye of the World.
Randall Thor is the Dragon Reborn. Sorry if I just spoiled it for you.
Oh goodness, I haven't.
And it was a lot more than like a 20-mile walk. By the way, they did end up at the Eye of the World, which is in the Blight. Like, that's half of a continent away, dude. I mean, yeah, they kind of cheated and they went through the ways and stuff. That's but true, I'm a giant nerd and I know all these things.
But no, I mean, that initial walk from the little town to...
Oh, you're talking about
when they went from the Two Rivers through Bear Lawn into Camelin.
That was like
a 20-mile walk. It was a half a day's journey that took 600
It was not a 20. It was not a.
It was not that far, man.
It was a couple hundred miles.
I mean, a lot happened. Look, if you want to talk about Robert Jordan dragging things on, it absolutely happens, but not in Eye of the World.
Through 10.
Yeah. Eye of the World was good. Eye of the World was good.
Eye of the World was great. It was a great
Eye of the World
first issue.
It was moderately good. It was moderately great. It was not the best of the series, but it also wasn't the worst.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think we're ready to wrap it up.
We're done with our tangents.
We're done with our tangents.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna wrap it up with a little rapid fire round covering some things that have been on Facebook.com/ManaBiscuitTV this week. And yeah, we already talked about this earlier, Jacob.
Sorry.
But it turns out that Konami is not dead after all, and they are, as we said, going to focus on mobile games. Any chance that they'll make an NES style Captain America game?
It would be a dream come true. TJ, pardon me. It takes 10,000 Lego pieces to build a Millennium Falcon to scale for minifigs. How many pieces would it take to build one to scale for humans?
For you, 7,000. All right, RJ.
I'm short.
Hey, it's RJ's turn. In addition to mobile games, Nevada just passed a law that will see Contra slot machines in casinos. Can you enter the Konami code on a slot machine?
Apparently, it's like a swipe thing that Jacob was covering earlier. I don't know. I mean, a lot of slot machines are touchscreen, but we talked about this on the show a couple of weeks ago about Square's feedback, and they are listening to fan feedback on the Final Fantasy 15 episode Duske Dos demo. They're releasing it next month. They are addressing the fan feedback, but the real question: are they going to explain what in the world a Duske is?
No. I can't get over the short thing.
Show must go on, man. Pull yourself together.
Snap back. All right. TJ, Nintendo World Championships return for the first time in 25 years. Have you had enough time to train?
Well, I took like 3rd place when I was something like 8. So, I've had 25 more years of training. I plan on taking 3,000th place.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure.
All right, RJ. Final question. How do you get to the cow level in Diablo 3?
There is no cow level. All right, well, that's going to do it for this week's Mana Biscuit. I want to thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate having you on board while we do this. If you enjoyed the show, please visit us at facebook.com/ManaBiscuitTV, where you can see all of those links to the little articles we were just talking about there and making Jay feel really bad about.
I'm short.
You can also follow us on Twitter at ManaBiscuitTV. Remember to like the video and subscribe on YouTube. You can follow us for live streams on twitch.tv/ManaBiscuit. And once again, your support does mean everything to us. It's what we do it for. So thank you again for Jacob Gamble and TJ Rathburn. This is RJ Volosky, and we will see you next week.